Hey guys, Coldheart here. Welcome to another Racial Legends video. Guys, this one will be a top 5 on all Void champions that we currently have in the game for top 5 for Legendaries, Epics, and Rares. We've got a Void Rush coming this weekend. It means 2x on summoning a Legendary and an Epic. It goes from 0.5% to 1% for Legendaries and 8% to 16% for Epics. We're going to go over the top 5 for especially Legendaries and Epics, which are usually the game changers, but also for Rares, because as you guys know, it's not always, you're not always gonna get lucky. You might get some Rares, and those Rares, if you get one of those top 5, then you should be still happy, since those will be possibly some of the game changers that you need to just take your account to the next level. So let's get started, guys. I'm gonna have this this weekend, so be prepared when this portal becomes purple to summon some shards. So let's go over in the index. We're gonna start with the Legendaries, and first up in the list, I would say the undeniable top Legendary, for my opinion, from Voids, is in the Lizardman's faction, and it's gonna be Krisk, the Ageless. I think that this guy deserves to be the top Legendary in this game, and remains for May 2021 as the top Void Legendary, even better than Sifi, the Lost Bride. The reason is, well, it's Krisk. Krisk can be used in every single dungeon, in arena teams, can be used for the clan boss, can be used in every single area of the game. Depending on how you gear him, you can use him there and he will carry you. He provides so much protection to the team through this passive. He gives a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns, equal to 50% of the champion's max HP, which is huge, and also has a 100% chance when this is booked to apply a decreased defense and a decreased attack debuff on the attacker when hit. This is just an amazing passive. It works wonders when you have him on defense, when it's the enemy's turn to attack and attacks Krisk. He not only has this passive, he has a way to extend the duration of buffs. He applies an ally protection buff on all allies and continuous heal buffs on this champion, so he is protected because of the ally protection, making him take way more damage. He also applies a provoke on his A3. He has an A1 that is an AoE and applies a decreased speed debuff. Overall, fantastic champion. I would say be more than happy when you get one. Even a dupe Krisk can also work. The current top clan boss team in terms of damage has over 200 million damage. Is actually using two Krisks, the Ageless. So definitely a top champion in my opinion. Next up in the list, I did mention her. Let's go to the Undead Hordes, and it's gonna be Sifi, the Lost Bride. Of course, Sifi, from the day that she came into this game, was amazing. Just amazing in the sense that she provides a great synergy with Rotos, but not only that, even if you don't have Rotos, she provides a great synergy to all your team. She has a great revive, which revives a single ally and gives them full turn meter, and also gives them buffs, increased attack, and increased critical rate if that ally is one of your more weaker ones in terms of being a squishy attacker champion. And he will also be getting that increased attack buff and increased critical rate just in case you didn't have him at 100% crit, which is not usually the case. She also provides a block debuff buff on all allies for 2 turns, and fills their turn meters by 10%, and places a 60% increased defense buff and an increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns, which this is amazing for the arena. Many players actually use their Sifi as their fastest champion, so that she protects everyone with the block debuffs buff. She also has a way to apply the sleep debuff for 1 turn on enemies when she single targetly attacks with her A1, and this effect cannot be resisted, which means you don't need to build any accuracy for her, even for high-end arena. She can be used everywhere, even on the clan boss. Even though there's not many teams that do use Sifi, she can still be used in there as well, just because of how much she can provide to a team. Next up, guys, is a champion that we did have a 10x for, and unfortunately did not manage to get him. Personally, it's going to be Necrod The Great. The reason that I put him in the top 5 list, and I won't put another champion in there that I will mention in a bit, is he just becomes a great protector of a single ally, and this can be used to your advantage if you're having issues with any of the dungeons, in terms of a single ally getting targeted all the time, either being weak affinity or just because of their very low health. Necrod the Great can actually protect them through just providing them with a block debuff buff and a strengthen buff, at the start of each round, and also an ally protection on that ally without even needing to take a turn. When that ally is attacked, Necrod immediately also applies an ally protection buff on that ally. And if you have that ally specifically built so that you know which ally will get the buff every single time, then you can actually build that ally with a ton of damage. And this protection from Necrod will actually help them stay alive and keep doing that damage and basically tank the waves. He's fantastic for PvP as well, and there are some teams that do use Necrod, so I think overall he deserves to be top 5 within this game. Just a fantastic champion, and I wish I did get him during the 10x. And not only that, by the way, he takes what, like 4 books here, 5, 6 books to fully book it, and it's a legendary being in the top 5. Very rare that you're gonna see this happen within this game, like needing so few books to actually get a maximum the maximum potential out of a champion. Next up is gonna be Warlord, a very recent addition to my my champions roster. I would say Warlord, the support orc legendary champion. I would say Warlord is amazing, given that all of his skills have something unique to provide to your team in terms of utility. He's A1, extended durations of debuffs. Even though it's lower than, let's say, Vizier, who is the king of clan boss in this aspect, Warlord still does a good job with his attack, and he's void, so there's no issues with weak attacks. He also has this A2 applies block debuffs buff on all allies, plays a shield buff on all allies equal to 30% of this champion's max HP, and then also heals them. Great way to protect your team throughout all the dungeons and arena, and also clan boss, since we did mention his A1, which helps for the clan boss. And then finally his A3, this is fantastic skill as an AoE, puts the target's skills on cooldown, which basically blocks them from doing anything for a couple of turns, and this can be tremendously bad for the enemy team. And he also has a good chance to actually fully deplete their turn meter, which means they will not only not be able to do anything, they will actually miss their next turn. Pretty much, if they were gonna get their next turn right after Warlord, their turn meter will be depleted and they'll miss the whole thing, and you'll have a better chance to actually take them down. And then finally, he also has an all ally resist in battles by 80 increase as an aura. Fantastic aura. I mean, Warlord is just amazing. You should be happy if you do get him during this 2x. And finally, for the top 5 in terms of legendaries, we're gonna go over to the Sacred Order. I did want to put Torment into the top 5, but because of Necrod, I replaced Necrod for Torment in the top 5 list. We have Venus in the top 5. Torment unfortunately did not make it. He's a great champion, but I do think that more players are now using Necrod instead of Torment in terms of at least PvP. So Necrod's value skyrocketed in terms of usage. So finally, Venus, fantastic champion. Overall, her kit is just amazing. I would say she took my account from a mid-tier account to total endgame account when I did get her more than a year ago. I even have a dupe of her now. It's because of this, her A2, decreased defense and weaken debuff for 2 turns as an AoE. She was one of the few champions in the game that did apply this, and like a year ago, this was just amazing. Now we've got more champions that do a decreased defense and a weaken debuff as an AoE. So this would have possibly dropped her in terms if she only had this in her kit. But she also has this A1, look at this. 50% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff for 2 turns on her A1. This is great when you do use a counter attack buff champion within a clan boss team. So Venus can possibly skyrocket your damage as well. She also has an HP burn to all enemies as an AoE. This can be used for now stage 25 of the spider, which many players are having issues with because of the limited amount of champions that we do have available to beat that stage. And then finally, she also gets an extra skill when you do have a Cubitus. Yeah, if you haven't checked my my video with 4 Cubitus, Cubidi, then you should definitely check it out. We did use Venus and 4 Cubitus for that video. And finally, she also has an ally HP increased by 33% for all battles aura, which can be used for just helping you out in dungeons, arena. You can use it even on clan boss if you don't have something better. So pretty much a great champion. And look at that base speed of 112. Definitely much easier to give her some speed to get her to the over 170 range, where you do need that for clan boss situations. Next up is the top 5 in terms of epic champions. We do have Madame Seer here. I think she deserves to be the top epic champion in terms of voids. The reason is she provides so much utility to the whole team and so much support that it's undeniable that she deserves the top, well, the first position in the top 5 in terms of Void Epic champions. Her A3 applies both a decreased attack and a decreased defense on all enemies, and also removes all buffs from enemies within one skill in a 4-turn cooldown. This is just amazing. This was actually nerfed a while ago. This used to be for 3 turns duration, now it's 2 turns duration, and it's still just an amazing skill. Every single player uses her on offense most of the time. It's very specific instances where you will not be using a Madame Series. If you do have her with your champions, it will be for very specific instances, like fighting teams that you cannot remove a buff, or teams where you need to have some kind of other synergy, let's say using Sathalia instead of Madame Series. But still, I do have 2 Madame Series, one built in immunity, one built in just straight accuracy and speed, and they're both great for the use that I want them to. She not only has this, she also has a way to remove buffs with her A2, and also apply a block debuff buff on all allies for 2 turns if any buff is stolen, and then also places a True Fear debuff for 1 turn on enemies who have buffs stolen. So a great A2 as well. She applies a shield buff on herself, and whenever she is attacked, she has a chance to apply a fear on the attacker. Just an amazing champion. I wish that everyone gets her tomorrow when we have the 2x. Next up, a recent addition to the Void champion pool, God Security. I will say that this I didn't think in the beginning that this champion deserved a top 5 position, but after I did use her and do still use her in most of my teams for my free-to-play account, I do want to say that God Security, an amazing champion, has a double way of reviving a champion, and both ways are quite different. One of them is basically having a passive when, if an ally is about to get killed by a fatal hit, preempts that hit and instantly places a revive on death. So this basically just revives your champion when he just gets one-shotted, for example, on the clan boss. And then she also has this A3, revives dead ally with 50% HP, fills the turn by 50%, and resets all their cooldown with just a 4 turns cooldown. And what a fantastic skill this is. It really helps when you've got an ally coming back from the dead with all their cooldowns ready, get some extra damage on the clan boss, let's say, and just keep on fighting for a little while as well. Depending on if you're on the clan boss, that's when things start to go bad, when people start dying. So she also has this A2, attacks all enemies, heals all allies by 15% of their max HP, decreases the duration of all buffs on all enemies, but also increases the duration of all buffs on all allies. Fantastic skill just for the increase the duration of all buffs. There's so many teams that you can use her for if you've got God Security. This is on a 3-turn cooldown, provides healing with her A2, provides healing with her A1, which heals the lowest ally HP, and she also has a passive which benefits all kind of healing from all sources, even lifesteal sets, for example. So fantastic champion. I did put her in the top 5 because I do think she has what other champions were missing in terms of being a top 5 champion. Next up, we've got the god of Ultra Nightmare clan boss. Well, all clan bosses, Maneater. You should be hoping for this champion. If you didn't pick up a Maneater during the last weekend's 10x, then you might as well hope for one now that we have a 2x. This champion just changes your account from 0 to hero. Honestly, I've got one of them on my free-to-play account. Total game changer. Now I can actually use the Ultra Nightmare clan boss team, start getting more sacred shards, more void shards, more 6-star gear just because of Maneater. He is the king of clan boss. He's not really used in all other dungeons, but he still can be used. It's not that he cannot be used, but he's famous for just the clan boss teams, honestly. But still, his kit is just fantastic, even if you don't use him only for clan boss. With that amount of speed that you use him for, let's say clan boss 265, 240, 254, he's extremely fast, and he can rotate through his skills, which have, look at this, 5 turns cooldown for an unkillable and blocks debuff buff, and a 3 turns cooldown on a fully deplete target turn meter skill, which also fills this champion's turn meter. So this is actually a 3-turn cooldown, and if you fully gain turn meter, this is basically a 2-turn cooldown, which is just crazy. Then he's got an A1 that basically places 50% decreased attack debuff on all enemies if this attack is critical. So you build him with 100% crit, and he'll be just constantly placing decreased attack as well on all enemies. Fantastic champion, totally deserves a top 5. So Skullcrown is the next top 5 Void epic champions that I do think deserve to be in this position. I was really in between her and the new champion Ursula and who should be in the top 5, but I did pick Skullcrown. Ursula is a great carry champion, deserves top 6. I would say Skullcrown is just amazing in terms of she provides a lead for arena battles, 23% speed boost. She provides an amazing nuke with her A2. Also can place a weakened debuff for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown if this is maxed out. She has an A1, which is basically a double hitting attack. Fantastic for all areas of the game. You can use a stun set on her and basically have two chances of stunning enemies with a 50% or more HP. She also has this passive, which places a kill level buff on this champion for 1 turn every time their HP drops below 20%. This is what makes Skullcrown so annoying in arena, because basically she cannot be killed immediately. There's only one champion now, a brand new champion, that can actually stop this from happening. But he doesn't deserve to be in the top 5. He's a great champion against this kind of situations, but not many people will have him since he is brand new. So yeah, this resilient passive, amazing, very annoying to deal with. Skullcrown's can be built all kinds of gear, stun sets, lifesteal, avenging sets. You can put anything you want on Skullcrown and it's gonna have a fun interaction because of her passive, her very annoying A1 and A2. Just a fantastic champion, and I wish I had her on my free-to-play so I can use her as my nuker for arena. And then finally Seer. I will say that Seer will never get out of the top 5 in terms of Void epics unless they nerf her one skill, Karma Burn. Karma Burn is so unique and so amazing, does so much damage now on Dungeons 25. She is the only reason that all the endgame players are not rioting over how Dungeons 25 are built. Dungeons 25 has so much health that it basically makes it impossible for other combos to compete on how fast Seer can actually clear the waves. What Seer does is actually she takes all the buffs from your team and the enemy team, just soaks them up, and basically nukes the enemies according to a multiplier from the buffs that she has and her critical damage, and just destroys the enemies. Then you put a champion in there on the second wave that resets her cooldowns so she can do it all over again, and it's just amazing. This does not work as well on bosses now, but just because she can take you to 20 seconds right to the boss stage, it makes Seer a must in all Dungeon 25 teams. And you will see that when you actually get her, that you'll start thinking about building a Seer just right in order to go all the way to the boss and get your times even lower for dungeons, even Dungeons 20, which do not have the limitations of Dungeons 25. And finally guys, in terms of rares, I know it's a 2x on epics and legendaries. I'm still gonna go over the rare champions because remember, void shards are just purple ancient shards. The chance to get an epic and a legendary just doubles. It doesn't become only epics and legendaries. We're still gonna get some rares. If you get one of these 5, be happy, because she or he will be a carry for your game, for your account, and take it to the next level. So let's start with the high elves. We've got Reliquary Tender, amazing support champion. She's got a revive on a 5 turns cooldown for a single ally, provides it a fill their turn meter by 30%. One of the easier champions to get that has a revive ability. She is a void, so she won't be getting attacked because she won't have anybody being strong affinity against her. She's got a great way to remove debuffs from all allies on a 3 turns cooldown. This definitely helps for those specific dungeons or the Doom Tower bosses, which you're gonna have some issues with debuffs. And her A1 also applies a decreased attack debuff. It's a lower version of the decreased attack, but still a great way to actually support your team by having the enemies not attack with so much power. Next up is Bellower, another champion who is pretty much an OG in terms of rares that are useful. He's a support champion, guys. A support champion that can be used as a campaign farmer, as a nuker, as a debuffer, as a tank. You can use him in everything. The reason is he applies so many different debuffs with his skills. He applies block active skills, decreased speed, decreased attack, decreased defense. Just amazing. Fantastic champion. You put some stun gear on Bellower, you just see how crazy annoying he is. Every single one of his skills is an AoE, so this deserves him to be in the top 5. There's no questions about it. Just give him like 200 accuracy, a stun set, and he'll carry you through most of the dungeons in terms of having somebody that can support your team, your team either through a stun, a debuff, just extra little bit of damage. Amazing champion, fantastic, totally deserves the top 5 slot. Next up, in terms of rares, it's very difficult to have a rare and consider it in the top 5, in the sense that we do have champions like Paragon, we do have Painkeeper. These are very niche champions. They will not help you carry yourselves through most of the content. They are very specific in their use. Painkeeper is mostly now used with Maneater. I know both of them are needed together, but actually there's teams that do not even use a Painkeeper to actually work. So definitely in the top 5, I would say from the Dark Elves faction especially, I will not consider these two in the top 5, top 10 for sure. But Coldheart still deserves a top 5 position. Coldheart, amazing champion in terms of max HP damage, fully depletes the Terminator, not fully depletes, decreases the Terminator by 100% on her A3, does a lot of damage based on the enemy's max HP. Even on stage 25, it just means that you build your Coldheart a bit more tanky, much faster, maybe with a different set instead of just critical damage sets. You're still gonna do that 10% max HP on dungeons 25, and she becomes just an amazing champion to have. She not only has that, she can also apply poisons on her A2, a heal reduction debuff, a decreased accuracy debuff, and her A1 also can apply a heal reduction debuff. So fantastic champion. She definitely needs accuracy to work, but that is not too crazy to consider when you're actually building a Coldheart. Next up in the top 5 in terms of rare champions to get, I would say it's gonna be Renegade. Renegade has a lot of uses within this game in terms of her A3. Only her A3, her third ability, decreases the cooldown of an ally skill, all ally skills by 2 turns. This skill does not affect this champion, so she cannot reduce her own cooldowns. And I will say that this is just great. Getting Prince Kaimark, who is another champion that does something similar to this but more powerful, it's impossible, almost impossible to selectively summon him. I tried, I didn't get him. Renegade is much easier to get. She is a rare champion. You can actually pick her up from just opening a void shard. Okay, she helps you do what I just mentioned with Seer. You can actually use Renegade to do that. She resets the cooldowns of all of your team. They increase their buffs. Seer just nukes, and you just keep on going to the next round and then to the boss round. Just a fantastic champion. Totally deserves the top 5 position, especially now with the addition of Dungeons 25. She becomes even more powerful. She was used in Dungeons 20. Before that, I kept using my Renegade with my Royal Guards for farming Dragon 20. Now she can even be used for Dragon 25, but in a different setup with, let's say, Battle Khazar. Fantastic champion, and you do need to get her if you're ever considering in having very, very fast teams for farming Dungeons 25. And then finally, the final rare that deserves to be in the top 5 position. I was having some questions about this. I was like questioning myself and my decisions if he should be in the top 5, but I would say that he still deserves to be in the top 5. If you don't have an unkillable setup, if you don't have anything that provides a defense up in terms of an aura, here it is. Bulwark. Bulwark deserves to be the top 5 because of the amount of support that he can provide to the team. He's a defense-based champion, but still, he provides so much support. Let's go through his A1. Applies a weakened debuff for 2 turns. This basically makes the enemy take more damage. It doesn't decrease their defense like a decreased defense debuff does. Weaken just makes them take more damage, 15%. His A2 applies an HP burn. This is a 100% chance when you fully max it out on a 3 turns cooldown. Pretty good, and he totally increases his damage. Of course, since he is a rare champion, the damage from an HP burn is not as powerful as an epic or a legendary champion would have done if they did apply an HP burn. Remember that HP burns from rare champions are not as strong. And then finally, this is why he gets a top 5 position. When attacked, has a 30% chance of extending the duration of all debuffs on the attacker by 1 turn. And this is especially useful when the clan boss is under 50% HP, because that's when the clan boss is attacking twice when he does attack with his AoE attacks. This basically has double the chance to actually proc to be activated, a 30% chance 2 times. It's so good. It extends the duration of debuffs, those poisons, those decreased attacks, any kind of debuff that you have on the clan boss and you want it to stick. Bulwark is going to help. Not only that, he's got a very high base defense for a rare, and he also has an aura that increases ally defense in all battles by 17%. It's a very basic, it's on the lower side, but still, if you have nothing in terms of increased defense, then Bulwark will bring that something into the team, and he deserves a top 5 slot. So what did you guys think of this top 5 list of legendaries, voids, and rares? I'm thinking of doing this kind of video every single month. So this one is for May 2021. What do you think of me doing this kind of series every single month, just to keep updating it and getting people to know these champions, know what to look for, and then when something new comes into the game in terms of a champion, then maybe we can change that list and upgrade it for each viewer to see, and maybe the newer players to actually have something to look out for when we do have these 2x events or 10x events or something similar. So thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and guys, I'll see you in the next one. See ya.